In southern Syria, a city burns and a nation fractures. What began with a single abduction spiraled into a sectarian inferno. Druze against Bedouin. Government forces accused. Israel steps in. The US scrambles. Now, a fragile ceasefire clings to life, but is it peace or just the eye of the storm? In southern Syria, a week of brutal sectarian fighting has thrown the city of Sweida into chaos. Bedouin fighters, positioned outside the city, have told the BBC they will observe a ceasefire with the local Druze community, but stopped short of ruling out a return to violence. The conflict erupted following the abduction of a Druze merchant on the road to Damascus. Tensions between the Sunni Muslim Bedouins and the Druze spiraled into open warfare, drawing in Syrian government forces and prompting Israel to intervene militarily in defense of the Druze minority. The Bedouin have since pulled back to nearby villages after a US-brokered ceasefire was announced on July 19th, but the situation remains volatile. From the town of Al-Mazara, once a Druze stronghold and now under Syrian government control, plumes of smoke could be seen rising from Sweida city. At a government checkpoint, a dirt mound blocked the road, a makeshift barrier manned by heavily armed personnel preventing Bedouin re-entry. Yet hundreds of Bedouin fighters crowded the road nearby, firing guns into the air and demanding the release of wounded and injured compatriots still inside Sweida. Syrian interim president Ahmad al-Sharaa, himself a controversial figure once linked to Islamist factions, had earlier called for an end to the fighting.
The Syrian state is committed to protecting all minorities and sects in the country and is proceeding to hold all violators accountable from any party. No one will escape accountability. We disassociate ourselves from all the crimes and transgressions that have occurred, whether from inside Sweida or outside it. We emphasize the importance of achieving justice and applying the law equally to everyone. It is not permissible to judge the entire Druze sect because of the actions of a small group that slipped in positions that do not represent the ancient history of this sect.
His administration deployed troops to restore order, but was soon accused by Druze residents of turning a blind eye to what they described as barbaric acts committed by government forces and allied foreign fighters. Israeli airstrikes targeted those units in what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described as an operation to protect the Druze. As of July 20th, calm had reportedly returned to the province, but not without cost. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, or the SOHR, said at least 1,120 people were killed in the clashes. This includes 427 Druze fighters and 298 Druze civilians, 194 of whom were allegedly executed by members of Syria's defense and interior ministries. Also among the dead were 354 government security personnel and 21 Sunni Bedouins, including 3 civilians who, according to SOHR, were executed by Druze militias. Another 15 government troops were killed in Israeli airstrikes. The violence has forced a mass displacement. According to the UN International Organization for Migration, more than 128,000 people have fled the area, including 43,000 in a single day. Sweida now faces acute shortages of medical supplies, water and fuel. The Syrian Red Crescent dispatched 32 aid trucks to the city, while Israel coordinated the delivery of humanitarian supplies and medical equipment overnight, working with the United States and the Syrian government to bypass logistical barriers.
Our brotherhood with the Druze community is well known, but beyond that, we are committed to a covenant of life. We cannot stand idly by when members of the community, inside or outside Israel, are in danger.
The city's hospitals, heavily damaged in the fighting, received medical shipments over the weekend. The health ministry in Israel had previously announced it was prepared to deliver aid as soon as all necessary clearances were in place. Yet tensions persist. In Miarba, southwest of Sweida, hundreds of displaced Bedouins have taken shelter in a derelict school. The village bears the scars of Syria's long civil war: shattered walls, bullet-riddled homes, and shattered infrastructure. Most of those seeking aid are women and children. Meanwhile, Druze spiritual leader Sheikh Hikmat al-Hijri is being blamed by tribal groups for escalating the conflict. The flare-up has exposed the cracks in Syria's post-Assad political transition. President Ahmad al-Sharaa, a figure seen by some as more sympathetic to the Bedouin, has tried to walk a fine line between reconciliation and restraint. Yet many Druze remain wary of his government. Accusations of bias, neglect, and Islamist leanings continue to dog his leadership. The Druze, while celebrating Bashar al-Assad's downfall in December, have been reluctant to disarm their militias, many of which were formed years ago to protect their communities from ISIS and drug traffickers. Government forces were initially deployed to quell the unrest, but soon withdrew after Israeli strikes and public backlash. Their absence gave rise to a power vacuum filled by sectarian militias and tribal fighters from across Syria. Videos circulated online show Bedouin fighters destroying portraits of Druze religious leaders and even shaving the mustaches of elderly Druze men, acts widely seen as cultural desecration. In response, Druze militias targeted Bedouin areas on the city's outskirts, forcing families to flee toward Dara province. Diana Dark, a Middle East expert, told Sky News there are 3 main Druze factions, 2 of which align with the government and a third under al-Hijri's leadership that opposes it. The US has voiced strong concern. Special Envoy Tom Barrack, who helped broker the ceasefire, said the violence has overshadowed hopes of Syria's recovery and warned that tribal vengeance could undo years of diplomatic effort.
Syria stands at a critical juncture. Peace and dialogue must prevail, and prevail now.
Back in Sweida, signs of cautious calm have begun to emerge. But with deep wounds, fractured trust, and no clear long-term settlement, this uneasy peace hangs by a thread. The ceasefire may be holding, for now, but the road to reconciliation remains long, uncertain, and fraught with peril.